it ain't off top. I'm at your throat, go get a cough drop. I don't wanna hear any more small talk. Off that short pier, take a long walk. My style ain't free cause it ain't off top. I'm at your throat, go get a cough drop. It's kush. I love me too much and your brain turn to mush. Fall flat on your tush. You couldn't handle the product I push. I guess I'm just used to it, I just do it. Like Nike swoosh, none of that Reggie Bush. Cause I'm top shelf, I ain't got wealth, but I'm on my grind like park rails. I'd sell the shoes right off my 2 feet, then add one, that's a yard sale. Got dumb bars that be smarter than Harvard, Yale. Take your pictures elsewhere, you wanna be TMZ, I wanna be VIP. Quit pandering, I'm not answering cause I don't wanna hear any more small talk. Off that short pier, take a long walk. My style ain't free cause it ain't off top. I'm at your throat, go get a cough drop. I don't wanna hear any more small talk. Off that short pier, take a long walk. My style ain't free cause it ain't off top. I'm at your throat, go get a cough drop. All of that bark and no bite, that's alright. Not everyone can be the big dog. Take a walk, kick rocks. Can't keep me out cause I pick locks. They hearing me knocking, I'll never be stopping. I keep this shit popping like lip gloss.
Well, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on another edition of Unscripted on the All Sports All Plays Network. It's awesome. We got one of the guys that I really respect, and he's obviously played for numerous teams, the Buffalo Bills and the Dallas Cowboys. Before I get to him, let me introduce Logan Landers. Hey, what is up, my brother? Are you ready for an awesome show tonight?
Yes, sir, Jay. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of sports, and I am excited for our guest to come on, and we can begin the show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, this man played in the 90s. He was a defensive end for the Buffalo Bills and my all-time fave, Dallas Cowboys. I remember him during the Super Bowl years, and just an amazing gentleman. He is part of the Northeast Streaming Sports Network, and I can't wait to get him. Let's go, Jim Jeffcoat. Before I get him, let me pull up my graph real quick. Oh my God, this is my man, none other than Jim Jeffcoat. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. I can't say the same for my Dallas Cowboys right now, Jim. I got to be honest with you, man. We drafted, but it was kind of I don't know how you felt about it, but for me, it was kind of so-so draft. We just kind of got the best available at 24 and so forth. I think probably my favorite guy that I liked was Sam Williams, the linebacker they got to supposedly replace Randall Gregory. So I guess maybe that's a little bit of excitement, but I just feel like, and I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like this is probably going to be the Eagles' year in the NFC East. I hate to say that.
Well, everybody's saying that, but here's the problem here's the situation. They drafted a need with the Smith kid. They drafted the guard because they needed a guard. Obviously, Connor Williams going to Miami and Laurel Collins going. They needed offensive linemen. Then you talked about, obviously, Sam Williams, but Tolbert, the kid they got from South Alabama, this kid can play. And they needed a receiver, and they just more need this year than going after the best available athlete. They were looking at some positions that they were thin in and trying to fulfill them because they don't know right now if all their receivers are going to be healthy for the first game. The only one that they have right now is CeeDee Lamb. Michael Gallup is injured. They said that James Washington was injured, and he should be ready for camp. But you never know. So they had to fill up on those positions.
You know, the knock on Tolbert is focus, is watching the ball all the way into his hands before he turns up field. How hard do you think it's going to be for him to get that under control and really take that next step forward?
Well, with receivers in this day and age, they can learn that. If they have a good wide receiver coach, they can get more focus. And he's getting paid now, so that should help him get more focus. And he's got an opportunity to play early. And anytime you got an opportunity to play, and he already in the OTAs right now, and he's learning things, and they're getting on him about being more focused. But he does have talent, and he can make plays. And anytime you get playmakers, that's a positive to your team.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. I think Logan kind of sees that since his Raiders brought in the awesome Devontae Adams. And speaking of playmakers, how far, are we looking at that, especially in the West, especially how competitive, with all the upgrades with Denver and San Diego and whatnot. I mean, the West is going to be crazy.
Everybody's saying that, but you got to look at the other divisions. Obviously, Buffalo is going to be hard with Josh Allen. Anytime you have Josh Allen and Diggs, you got a chance. The West is going to be better because you got, obviously, the Raiders that have upgraded. And then we know about what happened in the Chargers, Denver. And it's going to be a tough division, but it's all has to be played on the field. You can say whatever you want. There's teams that are going to rise, teams that are going to fall. You just don't know which ones are going to do it. And it really boils down to health. The Raiders are going to be pretty good. There's no question, but they do have a new head coach. And he wasn't very successful in his first run, but Bill Belichick wasn't, so we'll see.
Fingers are crossed, all of them.
Speaking of, what he's talking about, especially Logan, how worried are you that, Josh McDaniels was just kind of like, and I hate to say this word, but I'm going to say it. He's kind of like the puppet for Bill Belichick, and maybe his success is based on Bill Belichick behind the scenes, kind of like Andy Reid, in my opinion, is with Eric Bieniemy. I mean, they kind of had the same conversations. How do we really know that Josh McDaniels is going to be that guy when he separates himself from Bill Belichick?
Well, like I said, it remains to be seen. Like we said, his first run as a head coach obviously was unsuccessful, didn't have a good record, and he has been a head coach in a few years, but now he's got even more experience under his belt, coming into a team that is locked and loaded, revamped. Their offense is going to be off the charts. Their defense, I'm still worried about a little bit because they've always had issues on defense. But hopefully, as long as the offense can put up a good amount of points, the defense can be good enough to get things done. But as for McDaniels, it seems that, Carr, seems like a lot of the team is already behind him and they want to succeed with him. But like I said, it's hard to tell just on paper, man. You got to see how it is in game film, in footage on the sidelines, and that's where we're really going to see if he is the right fit for this Raiders organization.
I got one question for Jim before we get into the topics. You played under Jerry Jones when Jimmy Johnson was there and so forth. You kind of saw that portion, even in the Barry Switzer and so forth. Now we kind of look at the Cowboys 30 years since, almost 30 years removed since their last Super Bowl, and we still have not seen really, we haven't even sniffed, the NFC East or the NFC Conference. Do you think as long as Jerry's there that we're just doomed? Or do you ever see a light at the tunnel where we're going to get back to where we used to be?
I think it is. I think I never forget what Jerry always said. There's only a few owners in the NFL that really want to win championships. He wants to win because he's 79 years old, soon to be 80. He wants to win. And sometimes that's a deterrent, but I think he wants to win, and he's going in a direction to help this team win. Now, you have to also understand is that they can't make all those unplanned mistakes. They can't jump off sides from both offense and defense, get a crucial penalties at crucial times. And that's not ownership, that's coaching. And the coaches have to be able to be more disciplined with these players. They can't be doing all the things they did last year because the NFC East, let's be honest, wasn't as tough as it is going to be this year. So they're going to have to be more disciplined, and they're going to have to want it more.
Right.
And I hope Zeke Elliott is going to help too if he's truly healthy.
And which is really weird to me because, the offensive tackle Tyler Smith that they took in the first round, although he does have a lot of upside, the one negative he has, which is obviously a big negative that the Cowboys have, we all know it, is that they create penalties so much so that, the game against the 49ers was nothing but penalty-driven. And then we go and draft an offensive lineman that is penalty-driven himself. How do you think they can break him in that? Or do you think it's going to be another detriment?
Well, here's the thing. He was playing left tackle in college. He's going to be protected at the guard position. He'll start at left guard, and he'll eventually take Tyson Smith's place. So right now he's protected. It's a little bit different when you're out on that island. I don't care what level of football you're playing. It's a little bit different when you get out there on the space because most of the time on that side, the right ends are the premier pass rushers.
Right.
And that's the issues you run into. He won't have that. Now he's going to face bigger and stronger guys inside because you're going to have powerful interior guys. You know, then if you're playing the Rams, you got the Aaron Donald. You got Jordan Davis, the big kid from Philly, and he's weighed 340 pounds. So you're going to have to be, stout in there.
The last question I have, and I think it's been a question that's been forever, but I've never asked you this question, but it's always been a question I've seen asked many a time, is that, Jerry Jones kind of wants a certain type of coach to lead that team. And obviously, I think Mike McCarthy, Bill Parcells, they all kind of fit that mold. I personally don't like Mike McCarthy. I think he's kind of antiquated. I think he kind of got lucky with, Brett Favre in the year at Green Bay. I would have much rather seen him go with the Brian Flores type of guy, or something, maybe even bring in Eric Bieniemy. I don't know, something a little bit different than the traditional guy that he's gone with in the past. How do you feel about McCarthy, and do you think that Jerry will ever go outside that mold?
I think this is a crucial year for Mike McCarthy. I think that he's going to have to show some improvement, and it's going to have to be dramatic improvement. It is not going to be just winning one game in the playoffs. He's going to have to win a few because you got Sean Payton sitting out there. And when I was on the coaching staff, Sean Payton was the quarterback coach under Parcells. So I'm sure him being out there is going to have to – McCartney's going to have to do better. He's going to have to win some games. Plus, he's going to have to win some playoff games. And like I said, they can do it if they're more disciplined, because even though they were in the game with San Francisco. So there is some schematically, they do some good things, but they shot themselves in the foot.
Absolutely. We're going to get into – now, I also know that you have to be very, very knowledgeable in the basketball realm, so I'm going to tap into that on this show, Jim. So we're going to get into a little bit of finals that we got going on. And I want to get – first of all, I saw something that really kind of struck my fancy, and I wanted to kind of get you guys' reaction on this. I told my wife, and she couldn't believe how crazy this was, but there's a Celtics fan, Jack Bienvenu, that got a championship tattoo for the Boston Celtics already. He's got this champion. What the hell is this guy going to do if they don't win the championship?
Find a nice tattoo artist to cover it up.
Hey, listen, I'm all for fan sportsmanships and things of that nature, but damn it, that's not going a little too far.
Yeah. He can lie and say it was from another year. Hey, they won 17 championships.
Yeah.
Oh,
hey,
no.
Live and in face.
Hey, Philly sports guy.
What's going on, man?
Obviously, I'm at the Phillies game, and we're smoking them right now, so I figured I'd come on and talk to you guys.
Hey, Philly sports guy, I've got you on here. I know you're not going to be able to stay long, so I've got to get this out of the way. I know we're talking about NFL, but I got to break real quick, and we're going to talk real fast about these Phillies and the issues that they're having. Look, man, you guys, like me and Jim and Logan were talking about, you guys are at $233 million on your payroll. You're not really getting what you want out of it. I know the bullpen is probably one of the biggest factors in Joe Girardi's firing. How do you feel about Joe Girardi not being there, and how do you think – or do you think that the Phillies will get turned around from this point going forward?
Well, if the Bats are doing what they're doing now against the Angels, yes. I mean, obviously, I expected this team to be able to win games 12-10, 10-8. They're not going to win games by making miraculous defensive plays. They're definitely not going to be winning these games in the bullpen. Their starting pitching is good and strong, but once we get to the bullpen, that's where we have our biggest problems. So my thoughts are they got to score a lot of runs, and ultimately, as long as they keep doing that, they'll win these games. But they're not going to win close games, and that's the biggest problem. That's what really led to Joe being fired. He kept losing games, 1 and 2 run games. I mean, you can't be 7 games under 500 and have a +1 run total. You know what I mean? So that means they're losing these games by close margins. and winning games by big margin.
Right.
So, I mean, right now we won 10-0 yesterday. We're up 5-0 now. I mean, it's looking better now that Joe's gone.
So you guys, you fired Joe Girardi, and I guess what I'm saying is, do you think at the trade deadline, do you see you guys making some moves? Obviously, the bullpen would be where you make the moves at. Do you think you guys are going to be active in the trade deadline, trying to find that bullpen help to get you over that hump?
I'm not exactly sure what they have available for trade to get bullpen help. My thoughts is that we're going to need some of our pitching down in the minors to start to step up. I know that there's one guy down in AAA right now who's doing really well. He's a starting pitcher. And if he was to come up, I would think that they'd have to move Ranger Suarez to the bullpen. And that'll help a little bit. But we need help. But I don't think that we have any assets for trading. I think that if there was anybody who I would trade to try to get somebody, you got Rhys Hoskins, who I think has got some value. Short of that, I don't know of anybody else that's got that type of value that's going to be able to pull back stuff in the bullpen. And that's really hard to do. Anybody who's going to be in the playoff battle is not going to want to give that up. And anybody who's not are going to want assets that are going to help them next year, not this year. And that's why, Rhys is like the one guy who kind of, maybe we'd be able to do something with, but even then, I'm not sure.
So, Jim, I guess my question with you would be, like he just said, I mean, look, these guys, they got the reigning MVP. They got an National League MVP. They got 5 2021 All-Stars and a payroll above the luxury tax. If you're the GM of that team, what are you looking at trying to do to turn this team around other than just get rid of Joe Girardi?
Well, it looks like they did that with the interim coach, and it looks like the team is responding. Pags could talk about that a little bit more, but it looks like they're responding. You saw what they won by yesterday and what they're winning by today. So something is going on. If they can keep on that same path, then they'll become competitive.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Logan, I guess my question for you, Logan, is, they've come out and said that they want to hire somebody, from within that can be the new voice of the team. Do you see them staying on that course, or do you see them bringing an outside voice in, or do you think they're going to wait and see what this interim manager does and maybe even offer him the job if he does well enough?
I think they're going to wait and see. Obviously, it's a very small sample size, but so far, I mean, the Phillies are looking good in these past couple of games. And, we've seen interim coaches come in and absolutely change the clubhouse, change the way these guys play, put them on winning streaks, make them, get in the division title race. So sometimes just a change of manager, and I know it's always, you fall on the manager whenever your team's not doing good. That's the first chopping block to go. And, if this interim manager can do good for the Phillies and get them back in the hunt, get them above 500 and have them competing for that NL East title again, then it would not surprise me at all if they stick with him the rest of the season as well as into the next few seasons. But ultimately, if it doesn't work out at the end of the season, they're going to keep looking. And if they think it's someone else in the organization, whether it's in the minor leagues or someone as a bench coach, a first base coach, etc., then they might go that route.
And Pags, nobody knows the Philadelphia Phillies organization obviously better than you do. I got a 2-part question for you, and it's really simple. Do you agree with Logan, or do you think that is there somebody in that Phillies organization that they can bring up that will be doing the job they're looking for, or do you think they need to go outside and measure it? And also, secondly, what would be an acceptable finish in terms of record for you to say that this season wasn't for loss?
So I've been saying from the very get-go that I need the Phillies to be at 500 by July 4th. And if that's the case, I think that they'll go on a nice run to go and actually and start to get in the playoffs. The problem with being in the playoffs is that in a 1-game series, I think that the Phillies could win that game. When it comes to an actual series, playoff series, unless you go to a 3-man rotation and put two of the starters in the bullpen, you're going to have a hard time fighting. I'd like to see them make the playoffs. I feel that the problem is that defense is always going to beat offense, and it's the same thing. It's like that in all sports. So good pitching is going to beat good hitting, and I feel like that even if the Phillies are doing really well when it gets to the playoffs, good pitching is going to be able to stop them. And I don't know exactly. I'd like to see them get in the playoffs. I'd like to see them get in a playoff series, not just a wild card. That's what will be a worthwhile season for me.
Right.
As far as an outside voice, the one thing that I saw, or I heard from Joe Girardi, he went on. He did his MLB show even after he got fired, and he felt relieved that he was gone. And I kind of felt the same way about the Phillies, that they played loose for the first time, maybe all season. That this was something that maybe both parties needed. Joe got, I don't think Joe was really meant to coach in Philadelphia. Like in New York, you can get lost in the mix because there's so many New York teams. But in Philadelphia, you're under the microscope. It's hard to be a manager or a player in Philadelphia because the fans know their sports and they're going to ask questions, and the reporters are going to have to ask those questions. And you could tell that Joe just wasn't really feeling it. And I tell you, for the first time, when I heard his podcast from MLB Network, he sounded excited to be relieved to be done with coaching the Phillies. And like I said, the way that they played last night, it was like the bats were firing on all cylinders. And, of course, it is the Angels that are on now a 9-game losing streak. Hopefully it remains this way and it makes it 10 games. But I feel like that it wound up being maybe a perfect storm of things to happen. But I knew that they needed to do it before this series and get rid of Girardi, because obviously with the Angels doing well, he didn't want the Phillies to sweep the Angels and then fire Girardi, because that seems like the worst time to do it. So I knew that
especially when he's coming off a win. Why are you going to fire him when he's coming off of a win? But yeah, one win is okay, but realistically, they needed to make the move before that. So, and here it is. Now it's happened, and since then we've scored 15 runs. Hey, and it shows that I guess you're right, man. They are playing loose, and it's showing, and hopefully, they can keep that up at least till they, I really kind of hope they beat the Mets. I hate the Mets. I hope they beat the Mets. Look, unless Jim Jeffcoat loves the Mets, in that case, I hate the Mets.
Yankees. Just Yankees.
I just had to put that out there, just in case. Hey guys, listen, we're talking finals now.
They always Mets it up.
Hey, real quick, finals. Man, who the hell had Boston doing what they did in the fourth quarter? They're the first team in history to be trailing 3 quarters and then still win by 10. That's insane to me. And Jim, what is your opinion of this series? Does it now make us take more notice on Boston, or as Draymond Green kind of puts it nonchalantly, we'll be fine. It's one game.
Well, I had Boston winning in 7. I think, and Pags probably agrees with me, is that defense. And I think Boston is a better defensive team than Golden State. Golden State has better shooters now, but they can Boston can D them up. They have enough bench and they have enough players. And Golden State is not used to playing that physical type of basketball that Boston plays. They'll get up in your face. They're going to make the refs have to call it. They're going to have to make them, if they call the game tight, then it's a little difficult for Boston. But the way they called it, that was in Boston's bag right there. They love that. And plus, people don't realize that these teams were number 1 and 2 in interior points. They were number 1 and 2 in the NBA in interior points, and Boston took that away from. They took that away from Golden State because everybody thinks Golden State is only threes, but they eliminated them getting all those interior plays. And you got to remember too, Jason Tatum didn't have a good game.
Yeah,
he had an average game. Jaylen Brown, Horford, and Smart were the ones.
Absolutely. And Pags, I guess off of that, how are you viewing Horford now? I mean, look, this is not the first time that Horford has really stepped up and did some big things. Horford had a hell of a game, 6 of 8 3-pointers, 26, 6 and 3 was his line. Are we starting to look now, if Horford gets a championship out of this and continues to play at this level, at what point are we ever going to look at Horford as a Hall of Famer or at some point, or what do you think?
What? Did you just say Horford as a Hall of Famer? Come on.
I'm just asking a question. Don't shoot the messenger.
I ain't a Boston fan in the slightest bit. But so, I mean, I look at this as that they shot over 50% from 3 and inside the arc too. So, like, I feel that Boston's going to win this series by scoring points in the paint. That all the Warriors got to do is start protecting from 3-point range, and they're going to have a bigger chance of winning this series.
Yes.
Like I said, they were winning in 3 quarters, and then Boston turned it on in the 4th quarter. But they were shooting 50% the entire game, And in the 4th quarter is where the Warriors started to not shoot for 50%. Only wound up shooting 40% for the game. So yeah. I kind of feel that this series is far from over. But Horford has got a lot more to do before he ever gets even sniffed by the Hall of Fame. So, just my opinion.
Don't worry, that was Logan's question. I didn't want to ask it, but I had to put that in there.
Okay, if you say so.
Hey, Logan. Hey, listen, Logan. Take one for the team. Damn.
All right, fine. I'll take one, Jay. Former Atlanta Hawk Al Horford, Hall of Famer. Is that what you want me to say, Jay? Is that what you want me to? Is that what you're baiting me to say?
Hey, whatever makes you sleep. Hey, listen. Here's my deal. Thompson, right? Pedestrian, 15 points, but 6 of 14 shooting, 3 of 7 at the 3-point line. In previous championships, Thompson was a true splash brother. I mean, they were knocking him down, no problems. Now it's Kai Thompson will give you a little bit here, but not really truly looking like his old self. Is Thompson going to be the liability of the Warriors?
I don't know about liability. I mean, it was a rough game. It wasn't like he shot horribly, but like I said, he's still coming off those injuries. He's still obviously, I'm sure, not 100%, and we're going to see how he can bounce back because we always see Klay has a rough game, and then the next night he comes out and shoots 40 on 60% shooting. So if he gets hot, then the Warriors have a good chance of getting it done. But it's like you said, he didn't have a good night. Andrew Wiggins outscored him, who's done really well these playoffs. And I think that in order for the Warriors to get this win tonight, you're going to need Thompson to shoot a little bit better, and you're going to need Draymond Green especially to shoot better or shoot less, because 2 of 12 is not going to cut it any night of the week, whether it's preseason, the regular season, or the postseason. And also, too, another thing about the game, Jay, I feel that people aren't talking about a lot, is the Warriors got out-assisted, and the Warriors are one of the top passing teams in the league. The Boston Celtics beat them by close to 10 assists as a team. And like you mentioned, with that 40-point 4th quarter, they were feeling it. They were dishing the ball to everybody. And with Horford having that big night, obviously with Jaylen Brown having a good night, Tatum not having a good night at all, you needed those other role players to step up, and that's how they got that win. Your number 1 player had a horrible night shooting, and you still beat this team. You were down by a lot, and you still won by 10 points, and that's a great way to kick off the series.
What people feel to remember is that both of these guys played for who? Greg Popovich. Both of these guys did what? These coaches. They coach for Greg Popovich. So they understand how to coach. And both of them do. But the thing about Boston, I keep telling you, they are a nightmare on defense. They are a nightmare because they play. And I know they had the big the fourth quarter, where they were hitting the threes. But what makes Boston dangerous is their defensive play, because they're maybe one of the few teams that could. And Curry started off he started off hitting everything from three. But the second quarter, how many points did he score? None. If you remember, third quarter he came, but they can do things to you defensively and take people out of the game. And I would take Curry out of the game and let if the other guys can beat me, so be it.
Hey, Pags, I see you over there giving those photos and autographs. Hey, how much does it cost for a Philly sports guy autograph? Because I got about $20.
For you, it's going to cost you a lot more.
Damn.
Man.
I knew that was coming.
Hey, about to say, Jay, the appearance on the show is free. Everything else you got to pay for.
Hey, listen, my wife costs more than Pags, so I get it, man. I get it. I pay money all kinds of places, so I expect Pags to be a lot of money. No doubt about it. Question, Pags. What is doubt? I've said this all along. Boston has to show up everybody, and obviously that happened. Boston went in there, and everybody, even White off the bench, gave you like 32 points. So clearly they listened. What do you see going into game 2? Boston, Golden State. Do you think Golden State rebounds and takes it and they go back split 1-1? Or does Boston come away with 0-2 or 2-0 going back to Boston?
I think Golden State takes the second game. I feel like that they're not known for their defense, but they're going to start getting in their faces. And they're just going to be playing a little bit tighter man-to-man on the Celtics, and that's going to be enough. Like I said, Celtics shooting 50%. That's not something that they're able to do all the time. And I kind of think that, the Warriors are going to be able to quell that a little bit and tie it up and then go back to it's not going to be – this isn't an all-Boston series.
Agreed. And Jim, to kind of chime off of what Pags is saying, we know Tatum gave up, 3 of 17, but he got 13 assists. So even though he didn't necessarily shoot the ball well, he really contributed on the assist side, the creation side, and everywhere else. Twice in Milwaukee, they shot in the 30 percentile for field goal shooting. Do you see any of that being an issue going into game 2 or even when they go back to Boston, or do you think they'll stay shooting at least 40% or better?
I think if Golden State tries to tighten their defense and play man defense against Boston, it's the kiss of death, because I think Boston is more athletic than now. Golden State has better shooters, but Boston is more athletic. They would love for Golden State to get out of that zone and try to play them in the man defense. They will destroy it because they can't cover Jaylen Brown 101. They can't cover Jason Tatum, and they definitely can't cover the other guys. They're back. I mean, Williams or any of those guys. That's what they're struggling with. They have to play that zone to be effective. If they don't have the great athletes that can man these guys up. Even Draymond Green, he's a good defensive player, but he's had issues with his back. Curry's had issues with his ankle. And when you look at their Thompson, he's had issues with his knees. They can't play man-to-man.
Yeah, no doubt. Logan, are there any adjustments that you think Golden State needs to make going into game 2, or do you think they're good and they'll be fine? I mean, that fourth quarter really was the breakdown. I mean, I'll tell you, Boston was leading by 2 going into the half.
Yeah. And
then that third quarter rolled around and Golden State woke up and then they took it over by 10. And of course, we know the epic fourth quarter rolls around and Golden State just blankets and goes dormant, and Boston, of course, takes the win. Do you see the Warriors, having another fourth quarter like that, or was that just a fluke?
I personally think it was a fluke. I mean, we all know how good this team is, what they've done in the past, how well they're coached. We got our boy Rob Scott saying Warriors in 5. I knew he was going to say that. I knew he was going to chime in. But I think in order for Golden State to have a good night and get the win here in game 2, obviously you got to be a little bit better on defense, be a little bit tighter. You can't have Boston shooting that well again, or else they're going to lose this game. you have to have Curry more involved because we all know what he did early on, and then he just kind of went quiet. So you got to have him throughout the whole game. Thompson's got to shoot a little better. Draymond's got to stay out of foul trouble because it seems like for every big game or a lot of playoff games, he gets in foul trouble pretty easy. And I get he plays a more physical style of basketball that not a lot of guys are playing now, but it hurts your team. So limit the foul trouble there, and then also just play the brand of basketball they played the whole season. And I think they should be good to go. But I've also got them winning game 2 tonight and evening up the series.
And you got to remember too that Boston came out of a tough division.
Oh,
yeah, they did.
In there with Milwaukee. I mean, they were in Miami. Boston came out, and to get out of there, you had to be tough because that wasn't an easy walk in the park.
I mean, honestly, they both really did, right? I mean, a couple questions. Golden State had to go through, or Memphis was there, Phoenix was there. Dallas kind of tried to be there a little bit. Obviously, Dallas kind of petered out when they got to Golden State, but obviously they handled business when it came to Phoenix. The West was still pretty damn competitive, but I get it. When I look at Boston, Middleton was not present in that series, and I still think that was kind of a big thing. And then you look at but then you look at the Miami series, and Boston had Smart hurt, Williams hurt. Kind of playing so-so, and it took them almost to the edge of Miami, and really it was lost on one possession. And unfortunately, for Miami, you had Strauss 6 inches on the baseline, and it cost them on that 3-point, which would have actually given them the win had he been in bounds. So I get it, man. I mean, there's a lot of things that, the Celtics had to get through to get where they are, as well as, kind of what Golden State was. Golden State kind of had it pretty rough coming up too, up until I really think the Dallas series, they just kind of walked over that one. But then you can also say the same thing for the Celtics with the New York Nets or the Brooklyn Nets.
But you look at what they did against Denver, they won 4-1, right? If you look at Memphis, it was 4-2, and in Dallas it was 4-1 again. Then you look at the other side, Boston killed Brooklyn, we all know. But then Milwaukee was 4-3. And then Miami was 4-3. I mean, they played some tough teams. I thought they played more competitive teams.
Yeah. Pags, I know you got a lot of things going on out there. So if you got to take off, brother, man, we totally understand, bro.
I'm waiting for you guys to talk about some hockey.
Hey, I'm getting there.
Segue. What a segue. That's how we do it here on the show, Jay.
Hey, you know what? I don't know if I had actually, I think I did. All right, you know what? I'm gonna do this
a little bit later. We're gonna go ahead and go to it now.
You don't think so? I don't know how much time you have.
It's in there. Keep going.
I can talk about the Eagles too.
Hey, I'm running this show. Hold on a minute, damn it.
It's the Rangers. Go back. There it is.
I got it.
No.
Rangers 2-0 series over Tampa, and I believe the Avalanche are also in very much control of their series. So let's start with the Rangers series first. I got to be honest with you. I had Tampa all the way to the Stanley Cup, to be honest with you. I just felt like it was in their cards. But now that I see how the Rangers are playing, damn, was my prediction not wrong? Pags, we'll start at the bottom and work our way up. What do you think about this Rangers series with Tampa? Is Tampa just done?
I was right there with you, actually. I thought this was Tampa's cup to lose. And I tell you what, I can't stand the Rangers. But what I do love, I love good hockey. And watching the Rangers play against the Lightning, first off, game 1, I mean, they manhandled them. Straight out manhandled them. But what they're doing, all the intangible things that you need to do to win the Stanley Cup. They've been blocking about 20 shots a game. They're giving up their body to the puck, and that's what you need to do against Tampa. Colorado over the Oilers, like you have to stop one line of the Oilers. The McDavid line is everything on the Oilers. So if you stop that line, you're going to win that series, and that's what Colorado's doing. So I don't think Colorado's really prepared to be able to give up their bodies like the Rangers are doing. and that's what's going to win the Stanley Cup. I kind of expect that they're going to wind up. I think the Rangers take this series in 5 games. I think that the Lightning may win Game 3, but the Rangers could win Game 4. If they keep doing what they're doing, the Lightning is not going to have an answer.
Right. And that's the thing. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Pags, I'm just kind of getting my feet wet in the hockey world, but Tampa Bay was back-to-back champs in hockey, correct?
Correct.
So this would have been their third win or their third cup in a row if they could take this. So how detrimental? I mean, damn, isn't that crazy? I mean, they almost had the three-peat. And obviously, I don't think you see Tampa making any kind of comeback in this series.
Well, I mean, they have the people to do it, but their goalie's got to play a lot better. But Vasilevsky is the guy who won them 2 cups. They've got 4 Hall of Famers on that team, so don't think that that's not part of it. But Vasilevsky is the guy who's the one stopping the puck, and he's not doing what he normally does. And Shesterkin for the Rangers is, so ultimately, and plus the Rangers have a lot of young kids that are coming up strong. Like they've got the most points ever scored in a hockey series or in a hockey playoffs by kids under the age of 22 years old. Zibanejad is a great player. I've always been a Zibanejad fan, even though I'm a Flyers fan. But these young kids are just doing all the things they need to do to win a cup, and they're hungry. And I think that's part of the problem with Tampa Bay. Yeah, that hunger is going a little bit. They beat Florida, and that was part of what was happening. As you hear the fanatic drive by.
So Jim, based on what Pags is saying, we know in Game 1, defense is what really helped the Rangers get that win, and then Game 2, offense really came into play. How do you see Games 3 and 4 going for Tampa? Do they make a comeback, or is New York just too much for them to handle?
I'm deferring to Pags. Whatever Pags said goes.
Hey, that's what I was going to do. I just wasn't sure if Murdoch's as good as I was.
If Pags said they're not coming back, they're not coming back.
Hey!
Well, I think that they can win one of the games, but they got to play so much differently, and they're not used to that. They're not used to the game being taken to them the way that the Rangers are doing that. And had Florida played that way, they'd have beaten Tampa Bay. Florida had enough players to do that, but they didn't. The Rangers are just, like I said, they're playing hungry. They've got a lot of young kids. This has been built for a while, and the Rangers just didn't make the playoffs the last couple of years. Now they're here, and I tell you, it's going to be hard to stop them because they got the momentum. And I think, like I said, I think it's going to be a close game. I think Vasilevsky will steal one of these games, and it'll be like a 2-1 game that they'll win. But the following game, the Rangers are going to go back to scoring goals, and the Lightning is not going to be able to keep up.
Logan, I know you kind of follow me. I know you're kind of a Carolina guy. I follow Dallas Stars, obviously, because Texas ain't got but one hockey team. So, how do you feel about this Rangers and Lightning? Are you seeing them? Are you seeing the Tampa Bay coming back? I know I kind of picked Tampa Bay to win, but are you kind of where Pags is at, where it's just New York is just a lot more hungrier and obviously a little bit better, outscoring them and on the defensive front than what Tampa Bay has to offer?
Yeah, that's kind of how it's been these first 2 games, and I think that's how it's going to continue the rest of the series. It's like he was saying, they're younger, they're hungrier, they got that speed. Tampa Bay, obviously, they're more experienced, which helps, but experience isn't always the biggest factor. And with New York playing the way they have, the way they played against Carolina, and really the whole playoffs, they definitely are riding a huge wave of momentum right now, and I think they'll end up taking this series.
And in some ways, Pags, do you think that the way New York is playing, when we talk about the hunger level, and possibly maybe even look at the way Boston is playing against Golden State and their hunger level, that these two have something in common?
I don't know. I thought that the Warriors are hungry. Austin showed a little bit more hunger. You know what I mean? I think that Boston's definitely the hungrier team, I think. But I think that the Warriors still got a lot left in the tank. So where it's different, I look at basketball as different than hockey. You know, the Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy to win in sports for a reason. You know, and the guys playing hockey, when you got a short shifting guys, that's what Tampa's going to have to do. But they're an old team, so when you're short shifting guys and you go down to three lines instead of four, that's going to wear out Tampa so badly that I think that the Rangers are just going to take it that way. Where in basketball, it doesn't kind of go that way. You know what I mean? You could be, Curry and not be lackadaisical on one half of the court, and then just come and start playing on the other half, and you still win the game. You can't do that in hockey.
Yeah.
Are you kind of looking at the same way with Colorado and Edmonton right now? Colorado's up, 2-0 on Edmonton, and right now the score is tied at 1 apiece with 3:43 in the first to go. If Edmonton doesn't get this game, then it's got to be over for them. But if Edmonton squeaks out a win and takes it 2-1, is it still pretty much an Avalanche-dominated series, or does Edmonton have a chance in hell to come back and take it?
Edmonton's going to go as far as Connor McDavid takes them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's Edmonton's team. Connor McDavid is Wayne Gretzky. And if Wayne Gretzky is going to win the series, he's got to play over his head. Yeah, that's how they beat Calgary. They couldn't stop Connor McDavid. Now, I don't know. Colorado's got a different game plan for him. They're just leaning on him and wearing him down. And they don't have anybody else that's going to score goals in Edmonton. And that's the problem. Their goalie's okay, but he ain't going to steal the series. It's got to be done by Connor. So Connor's got to play over and above what he's doing already if they want to have a chance. They could win one of these games. Maybe that can energize them. But I think Colorado's just too strong of a team.
And so obviously, so as it would seem, at least the way momentum is going, it looks like it's probably going to be a New York and Colorado matchup in the Stanley Cup. Do you have the Rangers taking Colorado, or do you see Colorado doing the opposite?
I would take the Rangers in that series if I was a betting man. Now, obviously, the Rangers got to play that series like they've been playing the rest of the playoffs, but I don't see if they're going to give up their bodies and stop the puck like they're doing. It doesn't matter who they play against; they're going to win.
Right,
and that's how I feel about it.
Again, hey, I agree, man. I think it's going to be amazing. And I think a lot of us who, like I said, are still kind of getting our feet wet in the sport. But we're gonna rely on your knowledge. And I'll tell you, man, it's been a while since we've seen New York really in the playoffs. I think the last time I can remember, I think I was in high school or something. It's been a hot minute since we've seen New York at this level, right? I think, was it Messier or whatever his name was? I think that was with New York the last time they took the Stanley Cup, I believe, correct?
94.
Yeah, I think I'll graduate in 91, so it was just shortly there afterwards that the Rangers got to this level. So I'm like I said, I'm a Dallas guy, but it's good to see, the Rangers kind of get back and doing what they're doing. We're going to take a break, and we're going to go over to, Ham at the Lakers coach, Darvin Ham. That's the one I want to talk about real quick. Darvin Ham, he got the job as the Lakers coach. The interesting thing about it is I think that if Juwan Howard had not turned down to play for Michigan with his sons and the ability to coach his sons, that we're not talking about Darvin Ham as a Lakers coach. I think we're talking Juwan Howard as a Lakers coach. And I'm curious to get you guys' opinion on it. Jim, how do you feel about Darvin Ham getting the job? And if Juwan Howard had taken or had accepted the interview, are we looking at Juwan versus over Darvin?
Regardless of who the coach is, you got to obviously health is going to be the big issue because it's an older team, and now they can't get rid of those contracts. I mean, you're going to have those guys be healthy. Obviously, LeBron missed games. The center, or not the center, what's his name from New Orleans?
Davis.
Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis.
And you got to figure out how you're going to play Westbrook. And that's going to be the big thing. Now, Ham did do a good job with Giannis. They said he was instrumental in helping Giannis become a good NBA player. But that is, and Ham is a no-nonsense guy. He is a no-nonsense. He won a championship with Detroit, and he's done a nice job where he's been. He was in Atlanta with the coach from Milwaukee, and now obviously he was in Milwaukee. And the big thing is how can he get those guys to mesh? And they got to figure out how to keep Davis in. LeBron is, almost 40 years old.
Right.
I mean, he can't be the point anymore. I know he's one of the greatest players that ever played, but you got to have some help for him.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. And Pags, kind of on those same lines, on Bron specifically, if you're Darvin Ham, your two biggest things are, number one, getting LeBron to buy in, and number two, figuring out how to integrate Westbrook into the equation. How do you think he's going to do that, and do you think that he will be successful at it?
He's not. Old. Steve's way too old. The Lakers are going into irrelevancy because they put themselves there. And listen, I'm real happy to see it, actually, because I can't stand the Lakers. So I feel like that they forced themselves to get LeBron. They won their championship with LeBron, and then they made him call all the shots. And now they're a mess. So good for them. They're a mess.
No, I totally agree with you. And so, Logan, based on that, and I agree, Darvin Ham, if you're going to take your first head coaching job, for the love of God, you go to the biggest stage with the biggest mess. What the hell do you do to even start the rebuild process? Because nobody wants to say that LA is a rebuild, but they're a damn rebuild. What do you do with the LA Lakers?
Yeah, there's not really a whole lot to do because they don't have any suitors for Westbrook right now. I mean, the only one that was ever thrown out there was John Wall. I mean, he didn't even play last season. And, I mean, he's on maybe an even worse contract. But it's tough because the only three players are going to be on the team next year pretty much, maybe four, is LeBron, Westbrook, Davis, and I believe Tucker's under contract for a handful of years. But everyone else is expendable. I mean, all of the vets that they signed, the Bazemores, the Wes Matthews, all those guys, they're only on one-year deals. Carmelo's, they're all gone. Like, those guys are not coming back. I would be shocked if more than two of those came back. And so that leads to free agency, which is where they've made their money and spent their money in recent seasons because they ain't got no draft picks till at least the next 3-4 years in the first round. And you're not going to trade Davis. I don't think you're definitely not going to trade LeBron, and Westbrook ain't giving you nothing right now. So I think their best course of action for Coach Ham is go heavy in free agency, build around LeBron with some shooters on the perimeter because they haven't had that in recent seasons. They also need to get a lot better on defense. They got way too many old guys last year who could not play defense to save their lives. So grab some young guys. I liked when they picked up Malik Monk. He was solid. He was one of their few bright spots last year. But they got to do something to build around this team. Because, I mean, like I said, LeBron's a good player. Davis is a good player. Russ had a horrible year last year, even though his averages were about the same, honestly, as they were in Houston and OKC and whatnot. But build around those three with solid 3-and-D guys and some guys with some fresh legs. And I think that they can at least start building back to a better team. I'm not saying this is going to be a championship team by any means necessary, but Vogel, we all know, was a defensive-minded coach. I'm sure he had many long nights of pulling his hair out last season because that team could not play defense and they could barely score on offense. So with Darvingham, we'll see how he can do. Like I said, first time being a head coach. He was experienced as a player with Coach Budenholzer, along with a few other teams. So it's like I said on Thursday too, Jay. I don't think they were looking for a super experienced head coach, because you got one on the court with LeBron. You're looking for someone who is more of a locker room presence and someone that that people respect and that thrive off of. And that's what I think they went with Coach Hamilton.
That's a good appearance or something there. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. I'm gonna switch. Hey, so we're gonna get close to the end of the show. I'm gonna run the rapid fire. These last two topics, so we can get through them. Sleeper team in the NFL this year. Jim Jeffcoat, if you had to pick out a sleeper team, who would you pick?
I think the New York Jets are going to be better than people anticipate. I don't think they're going to be a Super Bowl team, but I think they're going to be competitive this year.
You know, Bart Scott came out and said that the Jets lineup was going to be twice as good as what the Patriots have. How do you feel about that?
They got more talent. I don't know if they're more experienced. I think the Jets will be better this year because they have structure now, and they haven't had that in the past couple of years.
Right. Tags, who's your sleeper team this year, brother?
In the NFL? I mean, I guess first off, I got the Eagles going to the NFC Championship game. Does that make that a sleeper?
Hey, I don't know, man, because, I don't know, because honestly, the Eagles did extremely well last year with what they had. They got to the wild card in Jalen Hurts' first year. So I think with the upgrades they've done, they're almost a little bit out of the sleeper realm almost. I think they're almost kind of predicted to get the NFC East crown at least, and they should push into that realm. So I don't know, man. I agree with you. For me, I had Minnesota as my sleeper team. I think Kevin O'Connell coming in there, I think he kind of rights the ship on offense as well as I think defense, especially the only really soft spot on defense for Minnesota I see is probably the secondary. But I think if he can solve those secondary issues going up against Green Bay, and we all know that Green Bay kind of took a hit at the wide receiver core, that I think Minnesota could be quite dominant in that division. So I got Minnesota as my sleeper team. Logan, who's your sleeper team?
I'm going to go with two. One of them who almost made the playoffs last year, I think, is going to get in this year, the Indianapolis Colts. You have Jonathan Taylor, one of the best running backs in the league, and then you get Matt Ryan, super experienced quarterback who's going to know how to play a little bit better than Carson Wentz was last year. So I think they'll get in. And then a team who I think improved this offseason that might have a chance against the Buccaneers in the NFC is the New Orleans Saints. They're going to have a great defense, and their offense with Michael Thomas coming back, with all the other major additions they've made, they might have a decent shot at that division.
I think if Jameis Winston comes out and is able to, leave or pick up where he left off before he got hurt, I think the upside for New Orleans, especially say they just brought in Olave, and I think Michael Thomas is supposed to be back, and those guys are chumming up and learning off each other. Yeah, man, that could be a really good spot for New Orleans, especially under Dennis Allen, their new head coach. Last topic for the night.
I see you smiling out there, Phillies. I see you gritting on your head down there.
The Saints. No way are the Saints going to be any good. You want a little bit to go in the opposite of sleeper. I think the AFC West. I think the AFC West is not going to be very good at all.
Ooh.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Hold on. I got something for that. Hold on.
That is a very hot take.
That was so hot. I literally put coffee on my chest. And I can't. Okay, hold on a minute. Hold on.
All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays.
Yes, I said it. You heard it right. I think the AFC West is going to not be so good this year. I think that Denver is relying on the fact that they have got a new quarterback named Russell Wilson, who I think is on the downside of his career. I think that the Raiders got rid of the best parts of their team in terms of their coach and their GM. So I think that they're going to take a step back. I think that the Chargers are okay, but everybody's got the book on how to beat Herbert. Rush them up the middle. So if these teams actually have good defensive line and good middle linebackers, they're going to be able to stop the Chargers. And the Chiefs are going to get a little bit, but they lost a lot of pieces. So everybody's thinking about how the AFC West is going to be so great. I'm telling you that the AFC West is just, they're going to be great on paper, but they ain't as good as everybody thinks they are.
Man, that was so hot that my computer melted on the hot tank. That's how hot that was. That's
pretty hot.
All right, folks, look, can Tua put the Dolphins into the playoffs? The biggest knock on Tua has been his arm. Everybody knows Tua's not – it's his arm and it's his injuries. Because we all know that he's got a history of injuries. Tua has come out and said, hey, I'm throwing 45-yard bombs, 50-yard bombs to Tyreek Hill, and they're going for pay dirt. So I don't see what the problem is here. He said that his conditioning and his arm strength and his mobility – has been greatly improved for the offseason, and that it's much ado about nothing. What do you guys think? The deal? Jim, what do you think about Tua?
I think they got a possibility, but it's going to be their defense. It's their offense is Tua did play okay last year, but it's their defense that's going to have to take them. I think everybody's going to, but they do have a good receiver. I mean, they got Waddle on the other side. They do play. It depends on how the coach uses all the weapons he has, but they're going to have to play really good defense to get out.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And Pags, another thing, too, is Tua came out and said that the reason why he wasn't throwing bombs last year was play calling. The play calling in their playbook didn't call for deep passes. They called for shorter passes, and that's why he says that. I don't know. How do you feel about what they're saying and what Tua's saying?
Well, I mean, who really knows what was going on with the Dolphins last year? I mean, you got a new coach now with all the stuff that came out with all that such, he was getting paid to lose games and all this other fun stuff. I mean, let's be for real. I mean, who knows how well, what was really happening with this team. I think this team's a hot mess. I don't think it matters who they have quarterbacking, that they're not going to be that good. They're going to be maybe a little bit better. They got some weapons. I think Tua's okay, but I don't know that he's not going to be the end-all, be-all. They don't play the Patriots every week, so it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I think they're going to be 8-9, maybe.
Interesting. So, Logan, they got pretty much a loaded backfield they're going to have to figure out with Sonny Michel, Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, and so forth. And then you got Gaston also. And then you look at, their receiver core, they just picked up Waddle and so forth. So, where do you put the Miami Dolphins? Are they going to be good, or do you think they're just going to be middle of the run, maybe third or whatever in the AFC division that they're in?
It's still tough because, obviously the Patriots they had a rough year 2 years ago, and they came back. We all know what they did last year with Mac Jones, who's a really good quarterback. Obviously, the Bills are riding the hot hand right now in terms of the hot team in that division. The Jets aren't in that conversation quite yet. And for the Dolphins, man, they added a lot of players, but how is it going to do? And like with Tua, like I say, he threw for the least amount of yards last year with barely over 200 a game. I know you mentioned that the play calling wasn't to his style, and we'll see how that comes out this year. Because he was sacked only 20 times. That's not that bad. 16 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. And he's still super young, too. It's not like he's been in the league for a lot of years and is still underperforming. He's still super young. He's still learning the league. So I think that not this year. I don't think the Dolphins get into the playoffs this year. But maybe next year. I just need to see him improve a little bit more. But you can definitely see that developmental trait is there for this young man. So we'll see how he can do this upcoming season.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys. So final thoughts, and I guess I lost my slide, but final thoughts for the show. I just want to say, first of all, Jim Jeffcoat, again, man, Dallas Cowboys are my team, and I remember you from those days, and I appreciate you coming on the show. It truly is a blessing to be able to talk to you and Philly Sports Guy, man. I love you, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. I always love talking sports with you as well. I'm glad you're in the face paint. It's even better when you're dolled up. It blows. It warms up my heart. Again, these guys are from Northeast Streaming Sports, and on behalf of Logan, you got anything you want to say to these guys, or final thoughts?
Yeah, just once again, thank you to Philly Sports Guy, Jim Jeffcoat, coming on the show and making it a great night tonight. Go watch the finals tonight. Got NHL playoffs as well. And hope everyone has a good weekend. We'll be back on Tuesday.
Hey, Jim, where can we find you? I know you're on Northeast Streaming Sports. Are there any podcasts that you want to put out there where we can find you at?
Yeah, J&B Talking Shops is on Wednesday night on 8 Eastern Time. And I do it with Byron Williams, the former New York Giants. We're trying to get Philadelphia Eagles so we can take shots at them.
Yeah, because that's about the only thing that they could do anymore because they're going to stink this year.
Oh my goodness!
Hey, Jim. I want you to be able to come back on the show again and visit us as we talk some more football and whatnot.
Yeah, I'd love to because because Eagles didn't beat a winning team last year, and they won't be the winning team this year.
Yeah, when I get you on, I'm going to try to get Pags on because I love the Dallas Cowboy and Philadelphia rivalry. It makes for a hell of a good show. Pags, man, you know you're coming back on, and appreciate you, man. And where can we find you at? Not that we can't find you pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, just you type in the Philly Sports Guy in any place, and I'm usually the one that comes up. If you can't find me, just Google me. That's where I'm at. And, yeah, you could keep talking all you want, Jim, about how the Cowboys are going to do stuff, but it's only lip service coming from you because they just ain't got the team anymore. This team is going to go down. They're only going to win 9 games this year, and the Eagles are going to be in the NFC Championship game.
They have to be the winning team, Pags. They can't do that.
We're going to win the East this year, and we're going to the NFC Championship game. You know, I was right last time when I said we were going to win 9 games. We did. I said that you guys are going to win the division. You guys still haven't gotten any further than the playoffs than we have in the last 5 years, except that 5 years ago, we won the Super Bowl, and you guys didn't make the playoffs.
We have this recorded.
Oh, it's recorded. It's out there.
Well, don't worry. We timestamp everything. And I'm going to tell you right now, you guys are coming back on mid-season, and we're going to do a debate. It's going to be Jim Jeffcoat versus Philly Sports Guy. Let's go.
There you go.
Hey, listen, I need a place to come. I need a place to come for Christmas, so I'm going to come right to your house. I'm sleeping under the tree, Jim.
That's right. There you go.
All right. Hey,
All
ladies
right,
and gentlemen, again, it's another episode of Unscripted with Logan Landers, my partner in crime, and the wonderful Jim Jeffcoat and Philly Sports Guy. As always, man, just a pleasure having you guys on, and we look forward to having you at mid-season, and we're going to continue this debate. Until next time, folks, this is Unscripted. We're out of here. Go have a good night.
I don't wanna hear any more small talk. Off that short pier, take a long walk. My style ain't free cause it ain't off top. I'm at your throat, go get a cough drop. I don't wanna hear any more small talk. Off that short pier, take a long walk. My style ain't free cause it ain't off top. I'm at your throat, go get a cough drop. It's kush. Love me too much and your brain turn to mush. Fall flat on your tush. You couldn't handle the product I push. I guess I'm just used to it, I just do it. Like Nike swoosh, none of that Reggie Bush. Cause I'm top shelf, I ain't got wealth. But I'm on my grind like park rails. I'd sell the shoes right off my 2 feet. Then add one, that's a yard sale. Got dumb bars that be smarter than Harvard, Yale. Take your pictures elsewhere. You wanna be TMZ, I wanna be VIP. Quit pandering, I'm not answering. Cause I don't wanna hear any more small talk. Off that short pier, take a long walk. My style ain't free cause it ain't off top. I'm at your throat, go get a cough drop. I don't wanna hear any more small talk. Off that short pier, take a long walk. My style ain't free cause it ain't off top. I'm at your throat, go get a cough drop. All of that bark and no bite, that's alright. Not everyone can be the big dog. Take a walk, kick rocks. Can't keep me out cause I pick locks.